I'm bringing in Keith Mines. He's the director of the Latin America program at the U.S. Institute of Peace to try to get a little more clarity here of what's going on. So, anytime there had been problems with Haiti in the past, the United States, well, you can go back decades, has always felt a kinship, responsibility, however you want to look at it, at Haiti. This was a strange decision to outsource to Kenya. What's behind this?
Well, there's not a lot of enthusiasm by anyone, frankly, to go and do an international security mission in Haiti right now. That kind of mission in general is not popular on either side of the political spectrum here in the United States. And frankly, there's a lot of Haiti fatigue. There's just a sense that we've done this a lot in the past and it hasn't gone well, so why would we jump in again? A lot of that, I think, is misguided. There have been times when things have gotten considerably better.
And it's usually been with our intervention.
It's usually been with our intervention. We're the ones that are closest. There's 1 million Haitians that live in the United States.
Don't the Dominicans want us involved?
The Dominicans would like to see a solution of any kind. They're not really in a position to do it, so they'd like to see something that would fix the situation. I think they would naturally defer to us, but we've deflected, so I think they're open to other solutions.
Why has this gang issue been so much harder to deal with? Look, there's always been sort of factions within Haiti, and it's been, but this seems to be on another level.
Well, if you go back to 2017, I think that was really the beginning of what we're experiencing now, and that was when the UN mission pulled way back from what it was doing before. Haiti is the kind of place that needs a long-term accompaniment, and I wouldn't say intervention or overwhelming force, but it needs an accompaniment with its police to keep things on track. It's just the reality that a relatively new police force has, and it's been a relatively new police force for quite a while.
Where do the gangs get their financing?
So they are financing now almost exclusively by kidnapping, and that's the real chilling effect that it's having on the society. They've taken over the streets of Port-au-Prince, about 80% of the city, and they just finance it through kidnapping, a little bit of extortion, but mostly through snagging people off the streets.
And what their economy, they used to do decent tourism economy, I assume. Now that's just shut down. People are just not coming.
Well, they've never really recovered from the earthquake. I mean, the earthquake in 2010, frankly, it was on the rise as a country, I think, up to the earthquake. But I think from there, it's really never quite recovered. But the UN pulled back in 2017, and it's made it really hard since then. And that's what gave the opening for the gangs. With the gangs, you had the drop in security and then the assassination of the president.
I'm just surprised at the lack of political will on this side. And I say this as a South Floridian, that there, I guess, where's the Haitian American diaspora, marching on Marco Rubio's office and Joe Biden's footsteps?
Well, one of the things that I point to, I think there's a lot of people that would like to see things get better. They're not quite sure what to do, frankly. And I think there's a sense of
fair point given.
Right. What do we do? I would offer two things that could be done. One is that there is a need for a multinational political solution to this. And that's one of the things that the international community has also deferred on. CARICOM has a small effort that they've started. There was the Montana group. There's been December 21. There's been a number of initiatives.
Is there a model in the country where we've done something like this before where it's worked, though?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's a number.
What would you point to?
Well, I would point, first off, to the Balkans was one where we just put the diplomatic juice behind an effort and didn't stop until we had it. And I think it's the kind of thing that can be done. It's a bad example now because of how it turned out, but the first few years of Afghanistan, we did the same thing. We collected together all the different factions of Afghanistan and the Loya Jirga, gave them a good way forward. And there's smaller examples that I've been involved in.
But all of this looks like nation building to people, which of course we know politically, that's how this stuff becomes.
Correct, and we probably needed to rebrand it. But look, at the end of the day, if we want to have a nation that functions rather than us trying to do everything or waiting for refugees to wash ashore, this is the way to do it.
I got to ask about Kenya's. How often have they wanted to sort of flex their international diplomacy muscle like this?
Well, I think Kenya would benefit from this if they can pull it off well.
Yeah.
So there's something in the international sphere that would be good for them. But I think they're also, I mean, it's just the beginning. We have to also be honest that they have agreed to lead a mission if there's a mandate, if they can find the other forces.
And if other countries will come.
Correct. So there's a lot still to be done, and that's the part of it I think we have to watch how that lines up.
Well, there's always a lot of things going on, but I'm glad that we got a few minutes on this story. Keith Mines.
Great.
Thanks for your expertise.
Good to be here.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.